news for you. You can't wake up and be Mad Dog Russo. You can't wake up and be Adam Shine. You can't wake up and be Stephen A. It takes work. In the end, we all have people.
Hold on to your seats, folks, because what I'm about to tell you will make your jaw drop, and maybe even make ESPN executives sweat through their fancy suits. Yes, we're talking about none other than Stephen A. Smith and his longtime co-host Molly Qerim, whose sudden exit from ESPN has sent shockwaves through the sports world. But here's the real kicker: what you think you know is just the tip of the iceberg. Why did Molly leave? Was it a salary dispute, personal conflict, or, dare I say it, a cover-up so big that it could make the entire network squirm? And why did Stephen A., the man with the booming voice and unfiltered opinions, act like none of it was his business, while simultaneously revealing secrets that nobody was supposed to hear? Insiders are whispering about tension behind the cameras, mysterious meetings, and power plays that would make Hollywood look like amateur hour. The social media explosion alone is enough to make your Twitter feed go up in flames, memes, hot takes, and conspiracy theories flying faster than a LeBron.
Somebody that I have leaned on many occasions in the past, as she has done when it comes to me. We've been partners on the show for the last 10 years. And a lot of times some of these things happen and it's just
Alright, let's peel back the layers of this so-called perfect co-hosting duo at ESPN. For over a decade, Stephen A. Smith and Molly Qerim were the poster children of sports broadcasting. Fans loved their chemistry, or at least, that's what ESPN wanted you to think. But behind the cameras, the story was far messier. Way messier. Let's start with the obvious. Molly Qerim's abrupt exit wasn't just a casual career move. No, this was the kind of resignation that makes network executives choke on their $1,000 bottle champagne. She left without warning, without a gradual handover, and certainly without that glossy, "we part on good terms," press release. And Stephen A. The guy who famously talks louder than a rocket launch, tried to play it cool, brushing off the drama as if it were nothing. But here's the thing, when Stephen A. acts like he doesn't know the full story, you better believe something shady is lurking just beneath the surface. Insider sources, let's call them unnamed but extremely credible, have been spilling details that make this saga more tangled than your headphones after a gym session. Apparently, the tension started building months before her exit. There were whispers of pay disparity, a classic tale in the media world, but nothing quite prepares you for the numbers. Stephen A., with his booming voice and larger-than-life personality, was reportedly earning $20 million per year, while Molly, despite being the moderator of the network's flagship show, was pulling in barely a fraction of that, somewhere around $600,000 annually. Yes, you read that correctly. 33 times less. 33. Do you feel the injustice? Because it's loud enough to shake the entire ESPN office. But money was only the tip of the iceberg. Sources hint at creative differences, backstage tension, and moments so awkward they would make a reality TV star blush. Picture this: during heated debates on live television, Stephen A. would occasionally throw comments about Molly's wardrobe or appearance, wrapped in that playful banter packaging. Cute? Not really. Imagine navigating that every single morning, under millions of eyes, while trying to keep a professional standard. Meanwhile, executives allegedly ignored these issues, keeping their golden boy Stephen A. untouchable and leaving Molly to fend for herself. And then there's the contract saga. Molly's team reportedly approached ESPN seeking a raise that reflected her contribution. Logical, right? Instead, insiders describe a lowball offer so insulting, it might as well have been printed on a napkin at the green room bar. Meanwhile, younger female talent, apparently newer to the network, were getting multi-million-dollar deals, a move that only fueled Molly's sense of being undervalued. According to one anonymous insider who definitely knows what's going on, this was the straw that broke the camel's back. But let's not ignore the elephant in the room: Stephen A.'s role in all of this. Despite his massive influence, insiders say he remained surprisingly silent when it came to advocating for Molly's fair compensation. Some speculate it wasn't malice, just sheer self-interest, but in the court of public opinion, silence can be louder than any booming rant on First Take. Social media erupted after Molly's exit announcement. Fans immediately noticed that in her farewell posts, Stephen A. was conspicuously absent, which only added fuel to the gossip mill. Some called it a strategic omission, others called it heartbreaking betrayal. Either way, the optics were devastating. Let's also not forget the previous controversial incidents that now look far more sinister in hindsight. Remember the infamous vibrating phone moment that went viral? On the surface, it was a little on-air joke, a playful tease, or so they said. But insiders argue that these moments contributed to a pattern where Molly was consistently put in uncomfortable situations while maintaining professionalism. Layer that on top of pay disparity, creative clashes, and a lack of advocacy, and you have a pressure cooker ready to explode. By now, you're probably asking yourself, was it really just about money? Or was there something deeper? Oh, my friends, the answer is far more tangled. Multiple sources hint at tension in decision-making, guest selection, and overall influence on show direction. Stephen A.'s power had grown exponentially, think CEO energy, but with great power comes great responsibility, and apparently, he wasn't using it to protect the person who had been by his side for 10 years. And just when you think it couldn't get any messier, let's talk about Fox Sports. Apparently, they swooped in with an offer that was 4 times Molly's current salary, signaling that rival networks not only recognized her value but were willing to pay for it. ESPN, it seems, had no intention of matching that or acknowledging the growing tensions. Cue the dramatic exit. By the end of this section, it's clear that Molly's departure wasn't a casual career move, it was a perfect storm of pay inequality, workplace tension, and power imbalance, all unfolding live in front of the nation's eyes. And this, my friends, is just the beginning of a scandal that will ripple through sports media for years to come. By now, it's abundantly clear that Molly Qerim's sudden departure from ESPN wasn't just another on-air change, it was a full-blown media earthquake shaking the very foundations of sports broadcasting. And what happens when a seismic shift occurs in an empire like ESPN? Fallout. Consequences. Unprecedented chaos. Buckle up, because this part of the story takes us deep into the storm. First, let's talk about the immediate aftermath. Within hours of Molly's Instagram announcement, ESPN scrambled to manage the narrative. Executive statements were issued, emphasizing business decisions and mutual respect, but anyone with half a brain could see through the corporate smokescreen. The public wasn't buying it. Social media exploded with outrage, dissecting every phrase, every omission, and every awkward smile from Stephen A. Smith during live coverage. One viral clip highlighted his unusually stiff body language as he tried to appear supportive. A body language expert reportedly called it classic discomfort mixed with a dash of guilt. Meanwhile, industry insiders leaked a trove of details, claiming that Molly's exit had triggered a cascade of internal panic. Human Resources reportedly received over 200 inquiries in the first 48 hours from on-air talent concerned about their own compensation and working conditions. Rumors flew that some staffers were threatening to walk out, others were quietly looking for legal counsel, and a handful were documenting everything for potential lawsuits. If true, this could mark the most destabilizing internal crisis in ESPN history. But the drama didn't stop at the network walls. Enter the media frenzy. Blogs, podcasts, YouTube commentators, and Twitter influencers exploded with speculation. Headlines like ESPN's pay gap scandal, Molly Qerim versus Stephen A. Smith, and the real reason ESPN lost its star moderator went viral within hours. Even late-night comedians jumped on the story, mocking the network's inability to properly compensate its talent while pointing out the jaw-dropping $20 million salary disparity. The narrative was clear. ESPN had created a situation so absurd, it was almost cartoonish, yet painfully real. And then came the rival network twist. Fox Sports reported $2 million per year offer wasn't just money, it was a statement. Sources claim it caused an internal ESPN meltdown, with executives realizing too late that underestimating Molly's value had consequences. Some insiders even whispered that high-level meetings were held, in secret, to strategize damage control, including hypothetical promotions, raises for other female talent, and even public relations campaigns to reshape ESPN's image. Unfortunately for them, once the narrative goes viral, controlling it becomes near impossible. Let's not forget Stephen A. Smith's role. The fallout painted him in an awkward light. Despite his public statements of gratitude and admiration for Molly, critics argued that he failed to advocate for her when it mattered most. Social media users weren't subtle, memes comparing his $20 million paycheck to Molly's under $600,000 salary flooded platforms. Some commentators framed him as the archetypal, silent enabler, a star whose influence could have prevented the crisis but chose self-preservation over allyship. Whether fair or not, Stephen A. became a central figure in the public's debate over workplace ethics, advocacy, and power dynamics. But what about the broader implications? Analysts suggest that Molly's departure could trigger a wave of legal and regulatory scrutiny. Imagine complaints about pay inequity, workplace discrimination, and hostile work environments. Industry insiders speculate that law firms specializing in labor law might already be circling, preparing class action lawsuits or private claims on behalf of undervalued talent. And when corporate lawyers smell vulnerability, you better believe investigations follow, emails are subpoenaed, and executives start sweating bullets. And speaking of investigations, consider the government angle. While ESPN is technically private, federal agencies like the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, EEOC, have reportedly been monitoring pay disparity claims in media industries. Molly's exit, high profile, heavily documented, and widely publicized, could become a test case for systemic gender pay gaps in broadcasting. Hypothetical probes, compliance audits, and mandatory reports could be on the horizon, exposing long-hidden practices at networks across the country. Meanwhile, public reaction continued to escalate. Fan forums, Reddit threads, and YouTube comment sections exploded with speculation. Some argued that this could be a turning point in sports media culture, with more female talent demanding fair compensation. Others were outraged at Stephen A., framing him as a symbol of male privilege in the industry. Hashtags like #Mollywood, #PayMolly, and #ESPN scandal trended for weeks, creating a firestorm that even top PR teams struggled to contain. Financially, the consequences could be staggering. If multiple high-profile talent decide to leverage Molly's story as precedent, ESPN could be forced into renegotiating contracts on a massive scale, potentially costing the network tens of millions more than originally budgeted. Sources even claim that certain internal memos warn that failing to address pay inequity could result in significant brand damage, loss of viewership, and reputational harm. In short, this isn't just a co-host leaving, this could redefine the economics of sports broadcasting talent. And then there's the human element. Molly's departure reportedly sent shockwaves through her colleagues, especially women, who felt inspired to speak up about unequal treatment and unacknowledged contributions. Social media threads highlighted stories of mentorship, overlooked ideas, and years of work that went undervalued. According to some sources, younger female anchors at ESPN were emboldened to negotiate harder and demand fair recognition, meaning Molly's exit may have sparked a broader cultural revolution behind the scenes. Finally, let's not ignore the long-term narrative. Molly Qerim has become a symbol of courage and resilience. Walking away from a comfortable yet inequitable situation took nerve, especially under the bright lights of national media scrutiny. Meanwhile, ESPN is left scrambling to manage the optics, fill the moderator seat, and reassure audiences that their top-rated show remains intact. Stephen A. Smith, for his part, must now navigate a career complicated by public perception, internal criticism, and ongoing debate over his role in one of the most dramatic exits in sports broadcasting history. So, what's the takeaway? Molly's departure isn't just a story, it's a case study in power, pay disparity, and workplace dynamics, amplified by social media, fueled by fan outrage, and complicated by the very personalities that made the show famous. The ripple effects will likely be felt for years: legal challenges, network reforms, cultural debates, and, of course, viral memes. By the time all is said and done, this scandal proves one undeniable truth: behind the glitz, glamour, and polished broadcasts of ESPN lies a high-stakes drama that the public rarely sees, until someone like Molly walks away and exposes the cracks. And trust me, folks, this is far from over. The next section, the call to action, will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about fairness, respect, and accountability in the world of sports media, fueled by fan outrage and complicated by the very personalities that made the show famous. The ripple effects will likely be felt for years: legal challenges, network reforms, cultural debates, and, of course, viral memes. By the time all is said and done, this scandal proves one undeniable truth: behind the glitz, glamour, and polished broadcasts of ESPN lies a high-stakes drama that the public rarely sees, until someone like Molly walks away and exposes the cracks. And trust me, folks, this is far from over. The next section, the call to action, will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about fairness, respect, and accountability in the world of sports media. So, what does this all mean for you, the viewer? Molly Qerim walked away from a decade of success, and in doing so, she pulled back the curtain on a world most of us only see through a polished screen. Pay disparities, office politics, unspoken power dynamics, it's all real, and it's happening right in front of our eyes. Stephen A. Smith, ESPN executives, and even rival networks are now part of a story that's bigger than any single show. It's about accountability, fairness, and the length some will go to protect their empire. Here's the question we need to ask. How many other Mollys are out there, quietly undervalued, quietly overlooked, while others cash in on their hard work? And how long before someone else finally says, enough is enough? If you thought this story was shocking, trust me, it's just the tip of the iceberg. The drama, the scandals, the secrets, there's so much more hiding behind the bright lights of sports media. So hit that like button if you're ready to uncover the truth. Comment below with your take, who's really at fault here? And don't forget to subscribe for more explosive investigations, insider secrets, and the kind of stories ESPN doesn't want you to see. Your next jaw-dropping revelation is just a click away. Alright, buckle up, because what we're about to uncover goes far beyond a simple co-host leaving a show. For over a decade, Stephen A. Smith and Molly Qerim were presented as the flawless duo of ESPN's flagship program, First Take. Fans adored their chemistry, or at least, that's the story ESPN wanted you to believe. But behind the polished camera angles and perfectly timed quips, the reality was far messier, darker, and more explosive than anyone imagined. Let's start with the obvious. Molly Qerim's departure was abrupt, shocking, and completely unprecedented. No long goodbyes, no gradual transition, not even a carefully curated, we part on amicable terms, press release. She simply walked away, effective immediately. And Stephen A. The man whose booming voice dominates sports talk, attempted to brush it off as if none of it concerned him. But here's the catch. When Stephen A. pretends he doesn't know the full story, you can bet your bottom dollar that something big, scandalous, and network-shattering is hiding just beneath the surface. Insider sources, who prefer to remain unnamed but are definitely in the know, have revealed tensions building behind the scenes for months. And what they describe is a tale of pay disparity, professional clashes, and hidden drama that makes a Hollywood reality show look like a walk in the park. Let's talk numbers first, because numbers never lie. Stephen A. Smith reportedly raked in $20 million per year, cementing him as the network's top-earning star. Meanwhile, Molly, despite being the moderator of the very same show and arguably keeping it from descending into chaos, was earning a mere $600,000 annually. Yes, you heard that right, 33 times less. That's not a gap, that's a canyon. But money is just the tip of the iceberg. The real story involves power dynamics, subtle harassment, and backstage tension that only insiders could describe. On multiple occasions, Stephen A. allegedly made comments about Molly's appearance or wardrobe, masking them as banter, but leaving her in uncomfortable positions under the scrutiny of millions of viewers. Meanwhile, executives reportedly turned a blind eye, protecting their golden boy while leaving Molly to navigate a minefield of awkwardness and microaggressions. And then came the contract negotiations, which insiders describe as a masterclass in disrespect. Molly's team approached ESPN for a raise that reflected her decade of contributions. The network's counteroffer, let's just say it reportedly made her team laugh, and then cry. To make matters worse, younger female talent at ESPN, some barely a fraction of her experience, were receiving multi-million-dollar contracts. According to one source, Molly saw these deals stacking up while her own contributions went undervalued. It was the perfect storm of frustration, betrayal, and professional exhaustion. And then there's Stephen A.'s role, or lack thereof. Despite being an industry powerhouse with immense influence at ESPN, insiders claim he didn't advocate for Molly. Some argue he was protecting his own position, others say he simply underestimated the significance of the pay gap. Either way, his silence spoke volumes. Fans and critics alike noticed that Molly's farewell Instagram posts didn't even mention Stephen A. by name. After 10 years of daily collaboration, that omission alone set social media ablaze. Speculation, conspiracy theories, and viral memes exploded overnight, making it clear that the optics were anything but good. Let's also revisit some of the past incidents now seen in a new light. Remember the infamous vibrating phone moment? On the surface, it was a seemingly harmless on-air joke. But insiders argue that moments like these contributed to a pattern where Molly was regularly put in uncomfortable, arguably inappropriate positions, all while maintaining her composure and professionalism. Add pay disparity, creative clashes, and lack of advocacy to the mix, and you have a pressure cooker ready to explode live on television. Meanwhile, whispers about Fox Sports enter the scene. Sources suggest that they offered Molly a contract 4 times her previous salary at ESPN, signaling that rival networks not only recognized her value but were willing to pay for it. ESPN, meanwhile, apparently made no effort to match the offer or address the growing tensions. Cue the dramatic exit, which blindsided fans and insiders alike. And the tension wasn't only financial or professional. Insiders hint at clashes in decision-making, guest selection, and show direction, all pointing to a growing divide between Molly and Stephen A. His influence at ESPN had ballooned to almost unchecked levels, giving him the power to shape the program, but also the responsibility to advocate for his longtime co-host. Did he fail to act? That, my friends, is the question everyone is still debating. So, by the end of this section, the stage is set. Molly's departure wasn't a simple career move, it was a perfect storm of pay inequality, professional tension, awkward dynamics, and a lack of advocacy, all playing out in the most public arena imaginable. And trust me, this scandal is far from over. The next part dives deeper into the investigative findings, leaked reports, and explosive public reactions that have everyone talking, tweeting, and speculating.